So everyone and their dog have been speculating about the identity of Supreme Leader Snoke. To be more specific, there are tons of rumours and videos floating about claiming that Snoke is not a new character at all. In fact, he is Darth Plagueis, Sidious' former master. I didn't originally want to make a video on this idea because A, the topic has been covered to death, and B, I don't actually think Snoke is Plagueis. However, due to me getting many requests to make this video, and because I'm going to create a unique spin on things, I thought I'd cover the topic. What I mean by the unique spin on things is that I will look at the arguments for Snoke being Plagueis, then I'll look at the counter arguments. Then to finish, I'll ask what you think is the correct argument. Firstly, let's look at the factors that point towards Plagueis being Snoke. Number 1, they both look very similar. Although we currently don't know what species Snoke is, he looks very similar to Plagueis, who was a Mun. Muns are tall, human-like beings with flat and stretched faces. All these characteristics seem to match Snoke, right? In addition, the Supreme Leader has scars on his face, which could be from when he was attacked in his sleep by Palpatine. The current canon only states that Sidious killed his master in his sleep, not how he done it. However, in Star Wars Legends, he killed Plagueis with Force lightning, an attack that would leave scars on his face. Number 2, similar music used in their scenes. Although Plagueis' only now canon reference is in Episode 3, the music used in the particular scene sounds very similar to that used when Snoke makes an appearance in The Force Awakens. Although it could just be a coincidence, it just may be a subtle hint. Number 3, Kylo Ren says Snoke is wise. Speaking of subtle hints and the Revenge of the Sith scene we just talked about, in Episode 7, Kylo Ren, who works directly under Snoke, says that the Supreme Leader is wise. Does the word wise remind you of someone? Sidious' master was often referred to as Darth Plagueis the Wise. Before we look at the counter-arguments, I'm going to give you my personal opinion on how Plagueis could have survived, and where he was throughout the prequels and the original trilogy. So how did he survive being savagely murdered by his apprentice? Well, Plagueis had an incredible knowledge of the Force. He was so powerful and intelligent that he could save others from dying. With that being said, it's not a stretch to think that he was able to somehow avoid death due to his knowledge of the Force. However, if he did actually die, he could have lived on, using another body to do so, possibly Snoke's. Dun dun dun! There are 2 pieces of evidence that back up my theory here. The first being that he could manipulate midichlorians to create life. In Star Wars Legends, Plagueis used this power to create Anakin Skywalker, so maybe he created and became another being when he was killed. Secondly, sticking with Star Wars Legends, Sidious was able to live on past his death by transferring his spirit into others' bodies, something he learned from his master. And if Sidious was able to do it successfully, then you can put good money on Darth Plagueis looked wise to have done something similar. Now that we may have explained how Plagueis survived, let's take a look at what he was up to all throughout the prequels and the original trilogy. It's safe to assume that he was weaker after the incident with Sidious, regardless of whether he survived in his natural body or transferred his spirit to another. In addition, he wouldn't have had the resources like he used to, meaning he couldn't challenge the Galactic Empire. However, as Andy Serkis has said himself, Snoke is an opportunist, coming in at the right time. When the Galactic Empire was in ruin, he stepped in and took charge. Whether Plagueis is Snoke or not, and of course if he lived on, I personally like to think he was smart enough to watch his grand plan play out, watch it fail, and make adjustments for his next attempt. Meaning that when he steps in, he will ensure the Empire, the First Order, whatever, does not fail like its predecessor. Moving on from my mad theories, let's take a look at the arguments against Snoke being Plagueis. Number 1, Plagueis was no giant. In The Force Awakens, Snoke appears very tall, much taller than any depiction of Plagueis. Now it is very possible that Snoke is not a giant, since he was on a hologram. He might make himself look large to intimidate those working for him and remind them who is in charge. However, if he turns out to be a giant, then he will not be Plagueis, unless he of course transferred his spirit. But that is yet another counter-argument. All the theories about him surviving rely on now non-canon sources. Number 2. Snoke was originally a female. In the art of Star Wars The Force Awakens, we learn that Snoke was one of the final characters to be developed. In addition, Snoke was very nearly a female, so unless Plagueis became a cross-dresser, this means that it is very unlikely they planned for Snoke to be Plagueis, and apparently he was only made a male 10 weeks before the film hit theatres, so if that's true, it's even more unlikely he became Plagueis. Number 3. It's just a rumour. Remember many people thought that Kylo Ren was going to be Luke Skywalker? Yeah, that never came to fruition. Now, I'm not saying everyone who thinks the Supreme Leader is actually Sidious's former master are totally wrong. You're obviously entitled to your own opinion. But I just see it as clutching at straws. There's no real substance to the theory. Number 4. Disney have been avoiding the prequels. There has been very little mention about the prequels leading up to The Force Awakens and in Episode 7 itself. Disney have been totally focusing on the original trilogy, due to them being the better Star Wars films and because they like more with Episode 7. Furthermore, Disney seem to be going with the motto, out with the old, in with the new. They already scrapped most of the expanded universe and they disregarded George Lucas's ideas for The Force Awakens. I just can't see them going back to Plagueis. The new films are being filled with new characters, all created by new minds. Characters from before are turning up to tie together the movies and continue the plot. But one major character has already died, and I see some of the others slowly fading out. It's Disney's product now, not Lucas's. They're moving forward and not looking back. So there we have it, 3 arguments for the idea of Snoke being Plagueis and 4 against the theory. You've heard what I think, now it's down to you. What is your opinion looking at the arguments in this video? Is Snoke Plagueis? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching the video, and for more Star Wars related content, keep it locked here to the camera's end. So what do we know so far? Well, he has a deep and creepy voice, going by the first trailer. He is Kylo Ren's boss and so fills the Darth Sidious role, and is an incredibly powerful figure in the dark side of the Force.